Okay. There's a lot of there sure is a lot happening in chat right now. Thanks for oncoming, Spoon. We really didn't need all that mess up in here tonight. um, Hi everybody. Hi, welcome to stream. As I've been working on putting the stream together for the last like excuse me, for the last like 3 hours, and I am just now realizing that I forgot to put some sources in here. Hello, Spash. I love this scene. Thank you. I like really threw this together today because I wanted with ambiance. Definitely worth skipping homework. Yes, thank you. It is definitely worth skipping my assignments. Let me see here. What am I looking for? I hate being a streamer and knowing what everything does in OBS. Let's throw in the BGM. Hey, yo, Family Lamborghini, what kind of BGM you want? You know what? We should probably toss in. Honestly, we should probably toss in sound alerts, but that doesn't be a thing. I don't remember how to do anything. I do stuff in OBS one time because it's functional, because I need to do it, and then like never again. Never again. I immediately lose that information. And it's like, do I want to, like, you know, do I want to lose my stuff forever? Do I want to like try to figure it out and fail miserably and do it on stream, because I can never do these things off stream, right? I can only put together visual aesthetics off stream. If it requires fixing the actual scuff, it's not happening. However, I did put an extensive amount of work into the audio thing, into my audio. Hopefully it sounds a little bit better than normal. I gotta say, I'm not 100% sold, but it is just a continuous battle of, you know what, we'll get to that when we get to that. Basically just like over and over again, hey, you know what, we can just handle it later. Which is it is absolutely my personal motto. I'll just do it later. Anyway, hello everybody, welcome to stream. Good to see you all here. Good to see you all. It is now later. Shut up, Spoon. No, it's not. It's not later because it is the now of like 15 seconds ago. So don't worry about it. Later, that's the secret, Spoon. Later never comes. Anyway, hold on. Do I want? Actually, now is long gone. No, now is now. No, like maybe you're not up to speed, but now is now. It's a very common misconception, but now is actually happening, as we speak, as we live and breathe. So just thought I'd make you aware. Hell, okay. Do I want to, because of the nature of today's stream, do I want to be able? But is the first now the same as the second now? No, you're still not getting it. Now is now, and now is happening, and there's nothing you can do about it. Thanks for coming to the stream. Let me see. Audio. Oh, shit. Here's all my fucking... Never mind. Girly Pop, I have no idea. Wait. Checks out? Yeah, it sure does check out. You know what? I'm just gonna make a little chat. Sound alerts are temporarily out of order, so don't waste your points. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a funny little pin. There we go. So don't waste your pip coins, because I'm not gonna hear it, and neither will you. I probably made a note somewhere to figure this out before I started the stream, but you know me. That's the level of stuff we're dealing with here today. Okay. Anyway, let's get some housekeeping going on in here. First of all, thank you all for coming to the stream. I really appreciate you all coming by. If you'd like to know when I'm streaming next, if you'd like to get some channel updates, you can follow me on Twitter. So this twitter.com/frogberries, exactly the same way it's spelled here. Oh my god, thank you. You can also hop into the chat pad over on Discord. We have a nice little small community over there. We would absolutely love to have you. That's also another way to get stream updates. Exclamation point, Facebook Grinder. Oh my god, get out of here, Spoon. If you don't want to touch Twitter with a 75-foot pole like me, you can hop into our little Discord server. Absolutely. We'd love to have you. Very chill company over there. You can send me a little tip or a little donation with exclamation point tip or donate in chat. I'll send you to my little Streamlabs page. My content will always be free to consume, of course, but if you are feeling generous and it is financially safe for you to do so, that is also another avenue for you to lend me your support. Thank you very much. If you'd rather know exactly where your money is going, we got a throne. You can buy me stuff. Once again, not required, but everything there is 100% crowdfunded. You can pitch in as much or as little as you like, and most of it circles back around to directly helping out the stream. So thank you guys so much in advance. Thank you so much for coming by. Your support means absolutely the most. And today, I, Nachiroshi, Pipiana Nasa, we'll be reading a nice little book. We're going to be reading the intro and at least the prologue in the first chapter to Tales from the Gas Station, Volume 1. I know there is a reading for fun category. I think it's called Reading Fun. I will not be using that category. I will be on just chatting because I want views, okay? The Reading Fun category is absolutely dead. So we're gonna be in just chatting because I want views. If you like what you see, you can help me a load by sharing my stream with a friend. I'm gonna try to grind for 200 Twitch followers by my anniversary in December, my second anniversary, because it'd be really cool. This is also technically ASMR. Oh, I'm flattered. Sorry, hold on. I forgot to turn on streamer mode in Discord, and I just got my eardrums absolutely annihilated. Thank you for joining the Discord server. I appreciate that a whole bunch. Now how do I turn on streamer mode, because that shit killed my eardrums. Fuck, I don't remember. How do I do this? You know what? I really only have so much brain space in my head. There we go. Streamer mode. Enable streamer mode. There we go. I only have so much brain space. Try the left and the right arrow keys at the same time. I hate to break this to you. Spoon. I only have a 60% keyboard. I do not have arrow keys. I do not have arrow keys. My birthday is coming up though, so I could probably add a nice fuller keyboard to my put one on Throne. Oh, I definitely could. You're so right. I could put a keyboard on Throne. I gotta figure out what the fuck I'm gonna do for my birthday. I'd love to do a birthday stream. I gotta figure that out though. Anyway, I don't remember what I was saying. Oh yes, give me attention, give me views. If you have somebody you think would like my content, send it on over. I want some views. I'm shamelessly begging for views. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to figure out what would be, because I've never done a reading stream before. This will be my first reading stream. I have so okay, for those unaware, Tales from the Gas Station is a horror comedy story that's kind of surrealist. It's like one of my favorite like stories to come out of the internet. It originated on No Sleep, but a couple of years ago was given its own like print, like physical like edited down copy, which is what we will be reading today. I have, hold on, book noises. You want some book noises? ASMR moment. That's what we'll be doing today. We'll be reading this. I've had it ever since it came out, but I've never finished it. It is a little bit long. I haven't read a book in full since high school. I am not beating the illiterate allegations. I'm not beating the short attention span allegations. It's not going away. But I figure we may as well try. So if you have any extra time, you know, after streams or whatever, or if I don't know what to stream and I'm kind of bored, we might crack open some Tales from the Gas Station. This is a busy month, so I can't confirm that we will finish this book, but we'll certainly start it, and if you guys like it, we'll come back to it a couple times and, you know, slowly chip away at it. I'm not the most adept reader in the world, so you might have to deal with my stuttering, but it's fine. Everything's fine. We're here for a casual stream experience, and my water is full, so sippy moment. Okay, what is the adequate amount of time between like catching up and like actually reading the book, you know? Like that's what I'm struggling with right now. Oh wait, I have an idea. Hold on, wait, what if we hold on, because we're doing like, wait, yeah, what if we had like what if we had like campfire ambiance. Da da da. Gotta turn the BGM way down. Sick. Cool. Do we like that? Do we like the campfire noises? Actually, I don't like these campfire noises. This is like a sickening campfire. Hold on. We need to find fireplace 10 hours. that's kind of more along the lines of what I was. I know. Yeah, yeah. Cool moment. If that sounds like scratchy and bad, let me know. I'm just trying to vibe. I'm just trying to be I'm just trying to be a cool streamer. I could probably serve to be a little bit louder, to be quite honest with you. Okay, there we go. Um Wait, what if I turn the volume down like just a hair? Oh my god. Pippi struggling with sound mixing on a stream? No way. No way Pippi is struggling with sound mixing on a stream. Holy shit. Okay, alright. Are we gonna start the book now? We should probably start the book now. Okay, alright, cool. Once again, I'm probably gonna look fucking droopy eyed as fuck. Um cause I don't know, I ran across a thread about like how to keep your VTuber model's eyes like open and not looking stoned as fuck when you look down at something. But I forgot to bookmark it, so it's gone forever. So I'll probably look droopy eyed as fuck, but it's okay. I'm gonna keep checking on chat, so let me know how the audio sounds. Let me know if we like the fire ambiance. If we hate the fire ambiance, let me know. It's for your enjoyment. If you do not enjoy it, I will turn it off. But yeah, without further ado, this is Tales from the Gas Station, Volume 1. Or at the very least, going to read the prologue and the first chapter. But because I am not built for too much reading out loud, it's been a very long time. We will see. All right. Without further ado, let's crack it open. The book you're about to read is a work of fiction. Any similarities to real people, places, or events is entirely coincidental, so please, don't go looking for the gas station. It is an entirely pointless waste of time. I assure you, no good will come of it. But if you do happen to stumble upon our quaint little gas station in the middle of nowhere, please don't touch the gnomes with the green hats. Prologue. At the edge of town on the downhill side, beyond the abandoned railroad tracks to nowhere, past the point where street lights end but before the world disappears beneath the twisted canopy of oak and black willow trees, there's a shitty little gas station open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's nothing really special about the place. If you were to go inside, you would probably see the same boring components of any other perfectly normal gas station across the forgotten backroads of God's country. Shelves packed with off-brand chips, cookies, potted meats, and pickled curiosities. Walls decorated with beer advertisements and windows filled with broken neon signs. A notice board covered in dozens of missing persons posters. A pot of coffee brewing in the corner where that blood stain keeps reappearing, no matter how many times we clean it up. The steady mechanical hum of the frozen drink machine that hasn't been serviced since the Reagan administration. Random pockets of icy cold air that seem to move about on their own accord. And, of course, the family of mutated raccoons living in the crawl space behind the grease trap. Well, we think they're mutated anyway. At the very least, they're inbred to the point of genetic deformity. The alpha, a muscular 3-foot-tall son of a bitch named Rocco, has been caught multiple times chewing off customers' tires. So far, he's been run over at least 3 times, yet he keeps coming back, stronger and dumber than ever. When it comes to upkeep, the gas station aims for good enough and usually misses. A faded wet floor sign sits atop a large crack in the foundation by the cooler where layers of sticky spill-off have formed a miniature tar pit, preserving countless insect corpses as well as the occasional small rodent. One of the doors on the cold drink case is held together with nothing but duct tape and prayers, and the smoke detector may or may not be an old frisbee. Year after year, the health inspector, through some divine intervention, pure laziness, or simple old-fashioned bribery, has signed off on the business, kindly turning a blind eye to the good-enough fixes and a blind nose to that overwhelming aroma that hangs over the gas station. That lingering smell, a sweet combination of honeysuckle, ammonia, and vomit, has never been positively identified, but the prevalent theory is that it's coming from underground, wafting up through the air fissures in concrete that grow and spread with each year of architectural settling. It's strongest right after a rain, and tear-inducing if you get too close to the storm drains where even Rocco and his clan refuse to tread. For you to answer nature's call during your visit to the gas station, you might see the bathroom cowboy. He's sort of an urban legend around here, only ever appearing when you're alone and unsuspecting. Some people say he wears a long leather duster jacket, bandana, jeans, chaps, and boots with spurs. Some say he wears nothing but black Stetson cattlemen, checkered boxers, and ornate tribal tattoos. Some folks have witnessed him handing out balloon animals or playing the harmonica. Some claim he sings to them with the voice of a southern angel while they're busy doing their business. Should you be lucky enough to see the bathroom cowboy, don't worry. If he's real, he's harmless, and quite polite to boot. Customers have reported a spiritual high after meeting him, and old Bob Hoover credits the encounter with curing his gout. Honestly, the cowboy doesn't seem so bad, especially if you compare him to some of the other things you may encounter. If you do go inside, there's a great chance you won't see the cowboy or the raccoons or possibly anything that might register as out of the ordinary, but you will probably see me. After all, I'm the only full-time employee, which means I'm on the clock more often than not. Most of the time, you can find me sitting behind the counter by the cash register. You may catch me reading a book because, for some reason, the internet doesn't work way out here, and the cell phone service is dicey on good days and non-existent on most. If you need to make a phone call, you can leave and go up the hill, back towards town. Definitely do not continue any further downhill where the road snakes into a hungry mouth of a wild, sweeping forest. Trust me, you don't want to know all the reasons why that's a bad idea. You eat the suspicious grass in your neighbor's yard. Alternatively, you can pay me 25 cents a minute to use the store's landline. That sacred arrangement was cooked up by the owners years ago, and yes, I have to actually enforce it because yes, they check the phone records. I'm sorry. We get at least one new person every month wandering back into town from the woods, normally barefoot, sometimes claiming they've just escaped aliens or monsters or government conspirators or the like, and that they have no money but need to make a call, and can I please let them use the store phone before they come find them again? But rules are rules. I'm not inclined to lose my job just because you didn't escape captivity with a little bit of spare change in your pocket. If you're desperate, you can attempt to approach one of our regulars, but I wouldn't recommend it. Southern hospitality rarely extends to our usual clientele, and an outsider striking a conversation with one of the locals may end up being more trouble than it's worth. For instance, there's Clive Cornwall, a man who's fond of the bottle and always takes a case discount on whiskey. All he ever wants to talk about is that time he met the devil down in the local watering hole. He claims he insulted the fallen angel's rhinestone jacket, and now he's cursed to perpetually stay drunk or face the demons determined to drag him into hell. Then there's bitter old Mrs. Meares, who will happily gab for hours about her 4 missing children and how they just were abducted one stormy night right from under her nose. Just don't ask her for any proof. The truth is, nobody around here remembers her ever having kids in the first place, least of all, Mr. Meares. And let us never forget Farmer Brown or his famously short temper that he'd lose at even the slightest provocation. The last time he caused a scene, it was over the new brand of bulk feed we ordered from him. He insisted something must have been wrong with our product because, as he put it, all of his animals suddenly had human faces. Unfortunately, you won't be able to ask him for any details. Not too long after the incident, the sheriff found what was left of his body down at the farmhouse, still clutching a loaded shotgun, with all the doors dead-bolted from the inside. As far as I know, they still haven't figured that one out. I guess the point I'm trying to make is this. Weird things happen at the shitty gas station on the edge of town. Up tier 1. The sheer number of people in my life that have somehow failed to outlive me is, in a word, incredible. I hope that doesn't sound like bragging because it's quite the opposite. I'm fully aware of my own limitations, and anytime somebody around me drops out early, I have to take a moment to wonder what the hell is going on. I guess I should start by explaining that I have a rare terminal illness and a life expectancy best measured in dog years. You wouldn't know it from looking at me. It's not something I like to advertise, but as long as I'm telling you my story, I might as well get that nasty detail out of the way as early as possible, lest you make the mistake of getting too attached. In all seriousness, there is an excellent chance that I will already be long gone by the time anyone reads this. Yikes. Sorry to be such a Debbie Downer right out of the gate like that. I know, 3 paragraphs in and I'm already apologizing. My psychiatrist would probably have a lot to say about that if he were still alive. I promise this tale isn't all death and solemnity. Most of the time my life is simply boring, and on the odd occasion it can be pretty cool. In fact, I got to hold the bunny rabbit not too long ago. But I'll get to that. For now, I'd like to start from the beginning. Sadly, that's not an option, as I can't exactly say where the beginning is, and even if I could pinpoint the moment, I'm sure it was well before I ever showed up. For as long as anyone around these parts can remember, things have been weird. I don't mean definitive proof of the supernatural weird, more like there's a cow on the roof of the building again weird, the kind of weird that makes you stop and ask, why? But much like the town's smell, you get used to it after a couple of weeks. The novelty wears off and you accept the normality. You accept the normality is a human construct, and if you want to get by, you need to mind your own business. Besides, the oddities usually have a way of taking care of themselves, and whatever's going on around here has always been more or less contained. That is, until a few months ago. That was the day I screwed everything up, the day I accidentally threw off the delicately balanced ecosystem. It was a Thursday, the devil was beating his wife, and I unwittingly started a chain reaction that would eventually lead to the untimely deaths of a lot of very healthy people, starting with my own best friend. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To understand how we got to where we are now, you should know what went down a few days earlier. It was a Tuesday night, 36 hours before the beginning of the end. A steady, wet breeze hummed through the trees with the promise of a storm to come. Black clouds, illuminated by a full moon, and heat lightning threatened to unleash their torrent on the forest below at any second. Basically, it was a dark and stormy cliche. But that didn't matter any to me, because I was safe indoors, sitting behind the cash register, minding my own business, and getting lost in an old, cheesy pulp novel about a scientist who goes mad and creates an army of giant ants. As far as jobs go, head cashier at the 24-hour gas station near the woods of the edge of town is not the best, but it's not the worst either. Knowing that I won't be around too long dulls any ambition to climb the corporate ladder, and this is one of the few professions where someone with my condition can really stand out. Some days churn by without incident, moving the world one cycle closer to the unavoidable supernova that will eventually swallow the planet and burn away every memory of humanity forever. Those are my favorites, when I can pass an entire shift reading and minding my own business. I don't need to climb a mountain or visit the Grand Canyon to know what Zen feels like. Tranquility is a quiet, empty gas station at 4 o'clock in the morning. Of course, some shifts aren't so uneventful. I've experienced rude customers, drunks and druggies, a handful of armed robberies, vicious raccoons and chaotic evil variety, and nearly every scenario of human stupidity imaginable and otherwise. But anytime I dare to think I've seen it all, the universe sends something through those doors to reassure me that no, I have not. We had been unusually busy in the weeks leading up to that Tuesday night. A group of wildlife and fishery agents from neighboring counties were putting on a suspicious amount of overtime, patrolling the woods in the area on a nightly basis. Our gas station was the only place for miles to get fuel or fresh coffee. I didn't care to ask what the fuss was about, but I assumed everyone was on edge ever since all those cows are mutilated. For the record, that's not my word. Mutilated is the sensationalist go-to expression for bored townies anytime anything happens involving their beloved cattle. In reality, somebody had been sneaking into local farms and meticulously shaving some of the livestock bald. If you're wondering why anyone would do that, you're probably not from a small town like mine. Boredom can be a powerful motivator. And yet, that night we were dead. Maybe it was the looming storm, maybe the agents had found whoever or whatever they were looking for. I didn't know, didn't care. But I hadn't seen another human for almost 4 hours, and I couldn't have been happier about it. My streak of solitude was eventually broken sometime around midnight by a short elderly woman with an egg-shaped body and purple-rimmed glasses that she made no effort to remove despite being indoors at nighttime. She had a string of pearls around her folds of neck wrinkles and long, ratty gray hair that appeared to be nothing more than a poorly fitting wig. She wore ruby red Reeboks, white gloves, a brown coat, blue jeans, and when she came through those doors, she threw a quick look my way before heading straight into the bathroom where she spent the next 45 minutes. When she was finally done, she came to the register, made an annoyed expression, and I tapped her foot until I asked, "Can I help you?"
"I guess you expect me to buy something just because I used the bathroom, don't you?"
Her voice sounded like she'd halfway swallowed a kazoo before... Sorry, I can't fucking read this line. Her voice sounded like she'd halfway swallowed a kazoo before smoking 10,000 cigarettes. Really, that's okay.
"No, it isn't," she squeak-grunted. "I'm nobody's charity case. I know the rules. Customers only. So I'll buy something and be on my way."
Her voice was the oral equivalent of a chocolate chip cookie dipped in ketchup, distressing on a spiritual level, and I was happy to get this interaction over and done with as soon as possible. There was a cheap stack of road maps within arm's reach of the register. She picked one out, I rang her up, and she handed her over her credit card. We get plenty of regulars at the gas station, but the lion's share of our sales come from out-of-towners. The business is located close enough to some major highways that I keep somewhat busy from the steady trickle of lost souls desperate for top-off directions or snacks. This lady was definitely an out-of-towner, and she was shaping up to be nothing more than another forgettable transaction, but as I waited for the machine to run her card, I looked out the front doors at the completely empty parking lot and realized that something was missing. The owners had asked me not to park my own vehicle around the front because they felt the sight of it was too depressing. My chariot of choice was based on a budget over comfort, a piece of crap 1990 Nissan Altima. The engine made a symphony of mystery noises, the speedometer had a 20-mile-per-hour margin of error, and the vents kicked out a funny smell anytime I put the car in reverse. To be fair, it did have a couple of benefits. I never had to worry about anyone stealing it, and at the time of purchase, the cassette player wouldn't open, so the dealer threw in the previous owner's Louis Armstrong mixtape at no extra charge. From From my vantage point at the register, I could see all the pumps and every empty parking spot. This one must have parked along the side of the building by the grease trap for some reason. A curious choice, but the only other explanation is that she had arrived on foot. Judging by her appearance, I didn't peg her as an avid walker. The card reader beeped, sending up an error code that I recognized as invalid or stolen credit card number, and when I looked up from the machine, I caught the woman licking her lips. Seems like there's something wrong with the reader, I said diplomatically. I knew it wasn't the machine's fault. Her card was either corrupt or fraudulent, but experience had taught me better than to attempt honesty in a situation like this. Do you have any other way of paying?
Well, she squawked with a grin, I don't carry cash, but maybe you'd be willing to accept an alternative form of payment?
Her voice sounded like two angry cats scratching a moist chalkboard. I wasn't sure what bothered me more, the words coming from her mouth or the meaning attached to them. Nothing good has ever come from a customer asking if I accepted alternative forms of payment. That's really not necessary. I was more than happy to pay the $2 for the map out of my own pocket if it meant she'd lead me to my book. Tell you what, how about if I read your fortune? If you're happy with it, I'll keep the map. If you think it ain't worth salt, we'll part ways. What do you say, Jack? I'd rather not, I answered immediately. I couldn't outright tell her that I would have preferred her steal the map, but secretly I was willing her to make a run for it. I know what you're thinking. It's all hogwash. You don't believe in divination. But it's an art that's been around for millennia, and for good reason. Entropy is what guides us down every path we take. The same thing determines how the cards fall. You need only to believe. She was right about one thing, only I would have substituted hogwash for a different word. Call me a skeptic, but I couldn't see this woman having the ability to look into the future, yet somehow missing the obvious fact right in front of her, that I wanted to be left alone. Not to mention that a real psychic probably would have realized that her only form of payment was going to be declined or that her wig wasn't on straight. The fact that she knew my name might have lent her a modicum of credibility if it weren't clearly printed right over the left side of my chest. The employee name tag pinned to my jacket was part of the gas station dress code. Actually, it's the entirety of our dress code. We don't even have a rule about wearing socks or shoes or pants while we're on the clock. As long as I have my name tag, the owners are satisfied. I did not want to participate in any divinations, but by this point I couldn't see any other way for this conversation to come to an end, so I put my book away, leaned back in my seat, and asked, "Is this going to take long?" Sorry I'm late, Chad. I had to fight an evil wizard to get my blankie back. That's so fucked up. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Well, let me know because I'm busy reading. She pulled a small pack of tarot cards from her back pocket and fanned them out. Not at all, Jack. We've already begun. She had me cut the deck, then arranged the cards one at a time on the counter, muttering to herself after each reveal. When she finished, there were 9 of them between us, in the 3x3 square. She shook her head. Would you look at that? She croaked. I've never seen anything like this before. It was 9 cards, randomly picked from a deck of 50. It would have been near statistical impossibility for her to have seen anything like that before, but I realized this was all part of the reading, Showmanship 101. Sensing that she was waiting for a reaction, I prodded her with a quick, okay, what do they say? Jack, I don't know how to tell you this, but the cards are very clear. The corners are, she pointed at each as she said their names, Upright Tower, Reversed Hanged Man, Reversed Wheel of Fortune, and Upright Death. These symbols tell a story, a very bad story. This can only mean one thing. You must be cursed. Makes sense, I thought. What about this one with the guy juggling? I said, referring to the card in the center of the square. That is the reversed fool. Is that good? No. Oh. Give me your hand, she barked. Why? Do you want to know what your curse is or not? I didn't suspect she was going to tell me specifically that I was cursed with a rare gene mutation that results in the loss of a certain higher neurological functions and premature death, but I was fine giving her the benefit of the doubt. I'm pretty sure I already know what it is. She stared at me from behind those purple-rimmed sunglasses. I couldn't help but think the giant frames gave her a somewhat insectoid appearance. You already know your curse? Yeah. She scrunched up her face in a look of bewilderment and said, In that case, allow me to offer my condolences. I pulled my book out of my lap and thumbed through until I found the page where I left off. The ants had just figured out how to work door handles. She gathered up her cards and pocketed them. I think that fortune was worth a roadmap, I lied. She grunted and nodded towards the doors, but she didn't leave. Instead, she stood there for a few seconds before turning back to face me like a thought had just occurred to her. Jack, aren't you scared of working all alone like this? Nope. But didn't you hear? There's a monster out there. It's been feeding. No one knows how to stop it. This was the first I'd heard of any monsters in months. It's probably just one of the cultists. She sniffed loudly, then asked, The what? The cultists. They've got a community in the woods near here. They've been known to wander around at night. Sometimes they stop in for smokes or snacks. Rumor has it they like to get out and dance around naked in the moonlight. You know, cold stuff. I'll bet somebody saw one of them out there in a fur coat, and the story took off from there. The old woman bit her lip in the most unsettling sort of way and then said, Thank you, Jack. You've been a very kind young man. Stay safe. I always find it slightly patronizing when customers call me young man, even though technically that's what I am. Young enough that I still get carded every time I buy alcohol, but old enough that I can't go to a high school party without looking like a super creep. I was definitely not a kid, but I hardly felt like a proper member of adulthood, stuck in that awkward age between two generations that wanted nothing to do with me and nowhere left to go but dead. As she walked away, I offered her a parting, "You too," before returning all of my attention to the book. The story of the giant ants ended in a disappointingly predictable way. My night, on the other hand, not so much. I put my book away and run through some of the usual nightly duties, fronting the shelves, resetting the lawn-gnome display, pulling all the sausages from the hot dog roller once they'd turned to purple, a little this, a little that, keeping the place tidy and in order for the eventual morning rush. When I'd done nearly all there is for a person to do, I returned to my spot behind the counter and dug through my backpack in search of a new book. That's when things got interesting. A man and a woman came into the store. Not a couple, just a man and a woman. At a glance, I could see that they were from two different worlds. He was a gruff, unkempt, black wife beater and skeleton sleeve tattoos. His skin was sun-darkened and dirty, with a haircut that said he neither needed nor wanted to impress anybody, and a mouth that suggested he didn't have dental insurance. He looked like he could have been a local, but I didn't recognize him. She was young and beautiful, with blonde hair and big blue eyes. She wore a short pink dress on her thin body and looked of abject terror on her pretty face. I would have bet my last dollar that she was an out-of-towner if I could find somebody who would take that bet. I would never have assumed that they were together if it weren't for the fact that they both ran into the building at the same time, the man telling her to find a weapon and hide. He slammed the door shut and fumbled about with the deadbolt until it slid into place. The woman screamed dramatically and fell onto the ground on the junk food aisle next to the off-brand snack cakes, crying like a newborn howler monkey. The man was panting like he'd just run a marathon, walking slowly backwards away from the glass doors as he let out, "What the hell? Where is it?" The woman managed to form the words, "Is it still there?" "It's gone. How can it be gone? It was right behind us." "Hello," I said in my friendliest cashier voice. The man yelled at me, "Get down! Don't let it see you!" I ducked underneath the booth table next to the door. I came to the obvious conclusion that these two were being chased by one of the more aggressive raccoons, but a quick glance at the glass door showed no signs of any predatory bandit cats. More interestingly, I didn't see any cars. The parking lot was still empty, which begged the question, where are all these customers coming from? "You guys all right?" I asked. The man slowly picked himself up enough to see out the window and scan the edges of the lot. Satisfied with what he saw, or didn't see, he got to his feet, crossed to my counter, and yelled the words, "I need to use your phone now." "Okay," I said. "It's 25 cents a minute. Pay in advance. No exceptions." "Listen to me, you little shit," he continued yelling. "I don't have time to pay you. There's something out there and it's following us. It's already killed someone. Now quit playing around and give me the phone." He reached across the counter towards the receiver, but I slapped my hand on top of it before he could reach. 25 cents a minute, I reiterated. "Look, I get it. I know how this comes across. Me sitting behind the register, being a hard ass at the business's weird phone policy like a man selling life preservers on a sinking ship. I get how, to someone who doesn't work at the gas station, this seems like I'm being a little ridiculous, but if you knew how often I deal with people, not even customers, just people, coming into the store asking to use the phone, you'd see where I was coming from. There was a payphone set up outside the gas station for decades, and we never had this problem. But after cell phones killed the cost call industry, the operator sold all of his units for scrap metal money just to buy a bus ticket out of town. Ever since then, the store landline has been like Woodstock for poor folk in need of a free call. The owners have been very clear. They're willing to cut a lot of slack when it comes to scheduling or dress code or customer complaints or general safety concerns, but this was the hill they picked to die on. We can't let word get out that our store is a place where phone calls can be made full gratuity. You know what kind of people go to businesses expecting to make free calls? Bad people, Jack. You get a reputation as that kind of establishment. You'll be overrun by gypsies in no time. The whole parking lot will be a shanty town, and you'll be up to your elbows in wooden nickels. I forget which one of them said that, but I still have no idea what a wooden nickel is. But my takeaway from the warning has been that this is serious, so I made it my habit to enforce the rule on a no exceptions basis. The man screamed and cussed and yelled at me like a parking lot preacher until he was red in the face, and then he finally stopped, pulled out a dollar bill, and handed it over. I turned the egg timer for 4 minutes and fastened the phone. "Thank you," he said. "You're welcome," I responded, even though I'm pretty sure he was just being sarcastic. He dialed the 3-digit number and held the phone to his ear for a second, then gave me a dejected look. "It ain't working." I took the phone from him and listened. "Ah," I said, "I know what's going on." "What is it?" he barked. "Yeah, this happens from time to time. It's not that unusual, really. It would seem as if somebody has cut the phone line." "What?" he screamed. "Somebody has cut the phone line?" I said a little louder. The woman let out a dramatic, high-pitched wail and continued to cry on the floor next to the Los Pocos de Vidas cakes. The man put both of his palms on the counter and lowered his head, defeated. "So that's it then, huh? We're screwed. The thing out there hunted us. Nobody even knows we're here." I reopened the register, took out the dollar bill, and handed it back to him, fully expecting him to scream again, but instead he went calm. He stood up straight and walked over toward where the woman was still crying on the floor. Then he bent down and sat next to her. "You guys are welcome to sit in the booth and wait for the sheriff's deputy to make his rounds. He usually shows up in the mornings to grab some coffee and check on things." "You don't get it, do you?" the guy asked. "Probably not," I answered. "We were in an accident right down the road. Her boyfriend came driving up behind me like a lunatic." "You slammed on your brakes," the woman yelled. "Some kind of animal ran out in front of me. If you weren't right in my ass, I wouldn't have been able to stop. You were driving too slow. You shouldn't have been tailgating." A loud noise from somewhere immediately above us echoed around the tiny room, shutting both of them right up. The woman continued to sob, but she shoved her hand into her mouth to plug the noise in a most ungraceful manner. The guy stared straight up at the ceiling. After a few long seconds without any more sounds, the man whispered, "What the hell was that?" "Most likely a tree branch falling on the roof," I said. "They do that sometimes. So go on, what happened next?" "What?" he asked. "You stopped short, and she rear-ended you." "She didn't rear-end me. Her idiot boyfriend was the one driving." The woman, still fist in mouth, collapsed dramatically on the ground again. The man changed his tone. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to call him. Never mind. He hit me and we pulled over and we traded words out there on the side of the road. Then something came out of the woods. Some kind of..." The man took a breath like he was willing himself to say the word. "Monster. It looked human, only it wasn't." I waited for him to continue his story, but he didn't. Not right away. Instead, he looked at me like he wanted to say something, to somehow validate the insanity he was espousing, so I said exactly what he was thinking. "I bet it was the Lurch." "What the hell is a Lurch?" "He's one of the cultists. They hang out around these parts. They don't have real names, part of their sacred rules. No labels from their pre-cult lives. I give them all nicknames to keep track. Lurch is the tall one, like basketball player tall. I bet that's who you saw." The man said this next part in an emotionless, matter-of-fact tone, like a news anchor reporting the death statistics. "The thing I saw out there reached down from the top of the trees, wrapped a tentacle around her boyfriend's neck, and pulled him into the branches like it wasn't nothing." "Oh," I said. "In that case, no, it probably wasn't Lurch who you saw." "I looked up and I see this one." He pointed at her with a quick chin thrust. "She was all ass and elbows up on the road, and I ran back to my truck to try to lay down some rubber, but I had it redlined and it wasn't going nowhere. That thing was holding me in place. Then it ripped the door right off the hinges like wet tissue paper. I didn't even think. I jumped out the other side and booked the road behind her. She tripped and fell halfway up the hill, so I scooped her up and we ran together. I swear that thing's breath. I swear I felt that thing's breath on my neck the whole way here." The woman, finally with her sobbing under control, leaned up and pulled her hand from her mouth. "I felt it grabbing my hair while we ran. I was so scared. Too scared to turn around and look and see. I knew it was about to get us." "But it didn't," the man added. "We made it here. We got a fighting chance. We just need to get back to civilization somehow." "But how?" she asked. I really just wanted to get back to my book, but I was slowly accepting the reality that I would not be getting any more reading done that night. "I have a plan," the man said heroically as he climbed to his feet. "I'm going to make a run for it." "No," she squealed. "You'll never be able to make it all the way to town. Not with that thing out there."
He walked to the doors and looked outside. I need to at least try. Y'all stay here and hide. If I make it, I'll come back for you both, I swear. But if I don't, I need you to give you a message to my little girl. She's only 2 years old. The woman stood up and screamed, Don't talk like that. We're all going to get out of here alive. It was then that I first noticed the woman's choice of footwear. Her clean white shoes had 3-inch heels and looked horribly uncomfortable for running. Strange, I thought. Maybe, he responded, but maybe it won't. And if this is my time to go, I need my child to know why her daddy won't be there when she wakes up. I pulled out my cell phone and checked the time. It was 4:30 in the morning, about 2 hours away from the morning rush. Excuse me, the man snapped angrily. I looked up to see him staring right at me. Are we boring you? No, I'm totally listening. I just needed to see what time it was. This girl coughed and asked, What the hell is wrong with this guy? The man shrugged. Well, I said, sounds like you two know what you're doing. Good luck. I'm about to get the store ready to make some fresh coffee, so... Wait a second. The man perked up, stepping towards me and pointing. You? Oh, crap. Here we go. You've got to have some way of getting out of here, right? You got a car? Where you parked? My car? I asked. I tried to think of a good lie, but I couldn't think of anything on the spot, so like an idiot, I blurted out the truth. I parked around back by the dumpster. The woman clasped her hands together and squealed with a smile. Oh my God. The man walked right up to the counter. We have to get out of here, now. He must already have anticipated that I wouldn't be too keen on leaving my post, which is probably why he held up a 6-inch pocket knife and flicked the blade open with one hand, a friendly way of saying, let's not waste any more time discussing it. Just in case there was any confusion, he stabbed into the countertop right in front of me. I got the point. He was in a stabbing mood. I stood up and said, right this way, and led the two of them down the hall towards the exit. Give me the keys, he said over my left shoulder. Here's the plan. I'll go first. Once the car's unlocked, you two run out. Don't drag ass, just get in and shut up. We ain't got time. He stopped talking. Something had interrupted his attention right as we approached the big metal door. A piece of haunting music was coming from the other side of the exit. What is that? The woman asked. This was still the instrumental portion of the song, but I recognized the tune instantly. Sounds like Louis Armstrong's cover of La Vie en Rose, I said. The gravel rafts of Louis's voice floated in the air. Even through muffled walls, I could pick out the words clear as day. The man said, How did you know that? By now, I've heard Louis sing his sweet, sad song of love during war enough times that I would recognize it after 2 notes. We didn't pick up any radio stations in the area worth listening to, so I try not to read too much while driving, so on long car trips, I listen to this tape over and over. Somebody's in my car, and they're messing with my tape player, I explained. Louis continued his enchanting verses. The man asked, You sure you didn't just leave your car on with the radio running? Before I could answer, there were 3 loud knocks on the other side of the exit. We all stood in silence. After a few seconds, I whispered over my shoulder, You guys heard that too, right? But then I noticed that the others had totally Batmaned out and left me standing all by myself. Whoever was outside did it again. 3 more loud knocks just like before. Who is it? I called out, but there was no answer. Hey, dude, the man whispered loudly. I looked back to see him frantically gesturing me for him to join back at the front door by the registers. I tiptoed away from the door. Yeah? I said once I was in earshot of the whisper. The woman had her hand crammed into her mouth again, so I looked at the man for an answer. That must be it. The thing found us here. I responded, Sure, that makes sense. Give me your keys, he said. Why? I asked. If it's around back, you're never going to... I have a plan, but we'll need a distraction. I rubbed my eyes and sighed deeply. This wasn't an intentional gesture, but the man picked up on my growing annoyance. Is there a problem? He asked in a voice that suggested there was most certainly about to be a problem. Look, guys, I'm not trying to be rude. This all sounds like the beginning of a truly excited, albeit generic story, and I applaud the effort. Really, I do. But, come on. The man cocked his head to the side and asked, All right, what exactly do you think is going on here? I returned a steely gaze, then turned my eyes to the woman who now had removed her fist from her mouth and completely stopped crying. Hey, why don't we call this what it is, all right? It was a nice effort, a valiant attempt, really impressive, but, No, he insisted. You clearly got something to say. Let's hear it. What are we doing here, Jack? I took a deep breath. Here we go. Well, if I'm to believe what I'm being told, you two were both driving around the back roads of BFE at 4 a.m. on a Tuesday, came upon a monster, and then in the dark, uphill against all odds, you outran it to this lonely gas station without a scratch on you. Yeah, he said. Let's talk about this monster. It pulls people into trees and holds vehicles in place, but now our back door is just keeping it at bay? Then you said it looked human. Then you said it had tentacle arms. So which is it? The man and woman looked at each other briefly, but there was meaning in that short eye contact, and I knew I was onto something. I see how it's supposed to go. First, you hit the phone lines. Next, you come inside and start asking if I have any hidden weapons you need to worry about. Then you get me away from the store. Somebody else swoops in while the register is unattended. This early in the morning, nobody's likely to interfere, so they can start with the cash register and end with the security tapes. Sounds pretty slick, the guy remarked. This sort of thing happen often? I shrugged. It ain't my first rodeo. The man then cracked a smile and put an arm around the woman. Well, shit. Looks like he figured it out. Babe, you want to go tell your friend to turn off that stupid song? She clicked her tongue and rolled her eyes while he pulled the knife from his pocket again. The girl jumped as the sound of another 3 knocks against the back door rang out. Quit that, she screamed. That's the only thing I don't get. What is your getaway driver doing out there? Seems counterintuitive, trying to scare me if you wanted us to leave the building. Why even turn on my radio in the first place? Beats me, he said. Dumbass was never supposed to leave the truck. She elbowed him in the ribs and said in a brand new voice, Shut up, babe. Don't tell him nothing you didn't ask for. Just get the money. This voice, her real voice, was shrill and carried a heavy southern drawl. She leaned up to kiss him and then walked past me towards the alcohol aisle. All right, the guy said, making a show of slowly reopening the pocket knife. If this ain't your first rodeo, I guess you already know the drill. I searched for the words to fill the awkward silence as I emptied the cash register at knife point. This was all incredibly elaborate. Why even bother? Why not? I'm sure you get bored with your job, too. What was the point of the lady with the tarot cards? The what? He said with a snicker. The girl sauntered up to us with a bottle of our most expensive whiskey, saying, He's just trying to trick you into saying something that'll get us caught. Just shut up already, before she hopped to sit up the counter. That true? The man scowled. You trying to trick me, punk ass? When I didn't answer right away, he shoved me backwards into the cigarette case. Sorry, I said. They both laughed like drunk hyenas and went back to emptying the register. I didn't need them to confirm it. The old woman was obviously the scout, and probably also the getaway driver, but none of that mattered now. One of these days, the woman said as she filed her fingernails, I'm going to be a rich and famous actress, and we're going to remember this night and laugh. She had her back to us, but the man was staring at her and smiling proudly. I had my doubts about her future acting career, but I kept them to myself. After all, she wasn't talking to me. She wasn't even talking to the guy. She was talking to herself, and who was I to dash her dreams? The strange truth was that I preferred this part of the robbery to the first act. At least I knew what I was supposed to do in this situation. I made quick count of the cash as I pulled it all out and dropped it into a plastic bag that I'd need to know for the police report, about $85 and change. The man cussed at me like it was somehow my fault the store had so little money to steal, but I explained that times were tough for locally owned businesses. He satisfied his anger by taking my wallet, cell phone, and book bag. Next, he took the security tape and threw it out in the bag alongside a pack of Skittles and a bottle of liquor that the woman had picked out. He made a few of the usual threats about what would happen if I tried to follow them, but I just held up my hands and said, Do I look like a Euro? He laughed again, and just to be a dick, kicked over the display of canned sodas that had taken me over an hour to put together, and then they left. I didn't see which way they went, nor did I care. It wasn't my problem anymore, and I had no desire to change that fact. As I put the soda display back together, I tried not to think about what would have happened if I'd actually gone out back with them. I sure as hell wasn't going to fall for any more of their tricks, so when I heard them screaming bloody murder outside the building a few moments later, I knew to stay put. I ignored their pleas for help and focused on restocking the canned drinks until the screams finally came to an abrupt stop. Passing time at the local gas station without benefit of a book or other distraction is a special kind of mental torture. Without my phone, I couldn't even tell how many minutes or hours had passed before the old woman came back into the store. My initial reaction was an overwhelming urge to say, You've got a lot of nerve showing your face around here again, in my best cowboy voice, but of course I didn't say that. She was part of a trio of armed robbers after all, and it was in my best interest to make nice until she left again. She came up to this counter with a smile and said, Remember me? Her voice still sounded like the way wasabi tastes. If her voice had been a physical feature, someone could get rich by putting it on display and charging 2 bits a gander. Yeah, I remember. She burped and patted herself on the chest. Pardonnez-moi. I seem to have eaten something that didn't agree with me. She burped again and laughed, and said, Oh man, I really pigged out tonight, but you know what? I don't get out much that often, so might as well splurge while I have the chance. Okay. She bent over and let out a long belch, putting a gloved hand over the counter to balance herself as she filled the air with her horrid explosion. Wow. She laughed and straightened up and looked back at me from behind those purple rimmed glasses. Whatever you do, Jack, don't ever get old. I wasn't planning on it. She looked out the doors of the empty lot and noted, "It sure is dark out there, even with the store lights. You could walk outside and never even know that something was waiting for you in the shadows until—" She slammed her flat hand against the counter. Bam! "Something could jump right out and get you." She turned and faced me. "Isn't that scary? Isn't the very thought terrifying?" "Sure, I guess." "You guess?" she echoed back. "Well, Mr. Bravery, if it ain't that scary, I don't know what is." I looked around the empty building and mentally kicked myself for not reloading the new security tape into the recorder right away. It was just her and me in there, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, that she was saying all of this for some unseen audience. I decided to lean into that skid and go with it. When I was younger, I used to go to summer camp in the woods near here. The camp counselor, Mr. Buddy, would always tell us the same scary stories around the campfire before lights out. She grinned. "I like where this is going already." His favorite was this one about a hyper-intelligent monster with black fur and red eyes. He called it the... Sorry, I can't read this word. The Deathits? Okay, it's Deathits now. He called it the Deathits. Every night it would come out and some poor hiker or camper that came across the monster. People ran, some fought, some tried to reason with it, but no matter what, the story always ended the same way. The Deathits tearing the person to shreds. In retrospect, maybe it wasn't the most appropriate story for a bunch of kids, but he loved to tell us that if we weren't good, the Deathits would come for us. She laughed delightedly. "Is that what scares you? The Deathits?" "I guess it's all a matter of taste, but that doesn't really seem scary to me." "Yeah, me neither. What's scary is about how 2 years ago Mr. Buddy got pulled over for a DUI and they found the body of a young missing woman in the trunk of his car. She'd been stabbed 40 times. The old woman raised her bushy eyebrows above the rims of her glasses and silently mouthed the word, "Oh." I continued, "Sure, it's scary when the monster jumps out at you, but I think the scariest thing of all is realizing that the monster is in the room with you the whole time." She burped again. "I like you, Jack, much more than I thought I would." "Thanks. So I bet you're probably wondering why I'm back here again so soon." "Yeah, something like that." "Well, I remembered my debt. I know you didn't care for the tarot reading, but it so happens that I've recently come across a little extra cash money." "You don't say," I responded flatly. "Yes, I'd like to pay you back proper for the roadmap." She pulled a $20 bill from her pocket and extended it to me. "Holy crap, are we really going to play this game?" "I don't have change," I said, trying and failing to mask the annoyance. I was robbed earlier tonight. "Who said anything about change?" She placed the bill on the counter between us with a smile. I reached to pick up the money, and then she snapped her hand out with insane speed, catching me by the wrist and yanking me halfway across the counter with the strength of a roided-up chimpanzee. I meant to scream, but it all happened so fast, and confusion of the situation, it totally slipped my mind. Instead, I simply asked, "What are you doing?" But even before she answered, I could see that she was studying my open palm, holding it in place with unnatural strength, inches from her face. She kept me imprisoned in her grasp for a few seconds and then grunted and let go, dropping me back into my chair. "I've seen your future," she reported. "It's even worse than I thought." I rubbed the spot on my hand where her tiny finger-sized bruises were beginning to form. "Yeah, I told you already. I know about my curse." "There's more. There's something coming. Something dark and powerful. Forces are awakening, intertwined with your fate. You will see amazing things in the coming days, and you will be doomed to live through it all. You are cursed to watch all of your friends, everyone you love, die before your very eyes." "Wow," I said. "You must be a real blast at parties." "I'm going to leave you with this, Jack. Whatever comes, try not to be too hard on yourself." And with that, she turned and left. Oh, well, okay, let's see how long chapter 2 is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's only like 9 or so pages. Yeah, I feel like we can do it. Let me stretch for a second, though. Whippy sippy. Brief break. Another pepper. I love the taste of water, for real. Ooh, okay. Oh. Okay. Cool. Okay, chapter 2. The first time I met the doctor, he made me sit and wait alone in his office for 15 minutes. I assumed it was poor time management and not a deliberate power play, but after it was turned into a regular habit, I began to wonder. The room was clean and cold and smelled like fake vanilla, and it was clear that somebody had put a lot of effort into decorating. The walls were covered in paintings of majestic red and purple sunsets, the furniture was soft and plush and undoubtedly expensive. A matching sofa and love seat, brown velvet, took up half the space. Nearby, a stack of shelves displayed fake plants and sand gardens beneath the doctor's impressive collection of framed medical degrees. But like a cheap plastic castle at the bottom of an aquarium, the ornamentation felt empty and out of place. The other half of the room was more traditional office space, with two chairs on opposite ends of a bare wooden desk. For me, it was an obvious choice. There was something about sitting on velvet furniture during a psychiatric visit that struck me as a little too creepy, so I stuck with a chair. With nothing else to occupy my mind, it didn't take long for me to wonder if the doctor was the type of person to lock his drawers. It only took 3 visits before boredom and curiosity got the better of me, and I checked. Turns out, he wasn't. I already knew I wouldn't be sloppy enough I already knew he wouldn't be sloppy enough to leave a stack of nudie Polaroids or a receipt to an annual furry convention where his patients could find them, but the content of the drawers turned out to be even more unsettling. There wasn't anything salacious to be discovered because there wasn't anything at all to be discovered. The drawers were barren, as hollow as the rest of the room's decor. No scissors, pencils, staplers, or anything else that might serve as potential weapon in a desperate situation. I soon came to realize that there was an eerie safeness to this windowless office, and the closer I looked, the more apparent it became. The electrical outlets were walled over, the art pieces were glued into place, nothing could be lifted or pulled off the walls or shelves. Even the desk corners were rounded and coated with wood-colored foam. The only writing utensil to ever enter the room was the flexible rubber prison pen that the doctor kept in his front coat pocket. It made perfect sense, I reasoned, but I couldn't take any offense. A man in his line of work required certain precautions. Before any of you start to get the wrong idea, let me assure you that I'm not living in an insane asylum somewhere staring at some miniature gas station inside of a snow globe and hallucinating this entire thing. Let's just say I had to go through a lot of trouble to write up this account of events and get it published, and if I'm hallucinating everything, then that would make this book and all of my readers part of that hallucination too. Whether or not you are a hallucination is absolutely none of my business, and I'll leave that up for you to decide. This was all just another part of living with a defective brain. Once every month, I would drive 4.5 hours across the state line to go visit the hospital. The friendly folks would draw some blood and do a lengthy bombardment of tests to see how my illness was progressing, and then I'd have a short talk with Dr. Viestamini. Is that Italian? I don't speak Italian. Viestamini before turning around and driving back home. The doctor was a specialist, dealing with rare and unusual cases like mine. He was a professional, and I'm not to speak of his other patients, but like any reasonable person, I Google stalked him before our inceptive meeting. That's how I learned that he had a reputation as the go-to guy for cases involving the cream of the crop of the criminally insane. In person, he was a tall, thick man in his late 50s with salt and pepper hair and horn-rimmed glasses. He cultivated a friendly impression, but I suspected that his kind smile and perpetual positivity were mere niceties, the same as I'd receive from a used car salesman or a flirty waitress. All the same, I didn't mind going with it and pretending that we were friends for an hour each month. The first thing he ever said to me was, "It's good to meet you, Jack. My name is Dr. Henry Viestamini, but you can call me Dr. V." When he came into the room to see me sitting in a chair across from the desk, he didn't hesitate to take a spot on the other side. The first thing I ever said to him was, "Why do I do that? Why would I do that?" And so it began our relationship. "Sorry? Why would I call you Dr. V? I have no problem pronouncing Viestamini. Well, Jack, not all of us are you. No, it's just a nickname. It's my little way of letting you know that you can be comfortable here. We're all going to be breaking down barriers and getting really close to one another over the next few months, so I think Dr. Viestamini sounds a little too formal, don't you? You want me to refer you by a nickname? That is correct. But you still want to maintain your title." He forced a short laugh and held up both of his hands, saying, "Would you like to call me Mr. V or just V? Would that make you feel more comfortable? I could call you Henry." He bit his bottom lip, never losing a smile before responding, "Do you want to call me Henry? If I'm being completely honest, I can't remember the last time I used somebody's name in a conversation with them. Only when I'm talking about them, and no offense, but I doubt I'll be talking about you to anyone, so it doesn't really matter what I call you. It wouldn't be for my benefit to call you anything other than Dr. Viestamini, but now that I think we're spending a lot more time together after... But now that we're spending a lot more time on introductions than either of us had originally intended. I agree. Maybe we should move right along to the ground rules. How does that sound?" "Sounds great, Dr. V." We quickly established 3 rules that would guide our relationship from then on. First, the doctor made it abundantly clear that his office was only big enough for one psychoanalyst. Because he had more training and experience than me, I should leave the heavy lifting to the professional. I assured him I would quit doing it out loud. Honestly, for a doctor with 4 medical degrees, he sure was easily threatened. Second, we both agreed to continue these meetings once per month until one of us was no longer able to do so. The implication of one of us part was quite clear, but I appreciated the courteous wording nonetheless. Third and last, we decided exactly how honesty would fit into our relationship. Apparently, the doctor's opinion of truth was less than what I'd expected to be from a mental health provider, and more what I'd expected to be from an emotionally abusive boyfriend with a philosophy diploma from an online college. Truth and deception are fluid concepts, but the trust between us is pivotal. I understand that you can only share what you feel comfortable sharing. I understand that you will need to keep some secrets. However, I can't help you or treat your case properly if you fill in the gaps to anything less than the total sincerity. So I propose an agreement. To the best of our abilities, may we never directly lie to one another. Agreed? For some reason, the doctor left a loophole in this tell the truth rule big enough to drive a truck through. It didn't make any sense to me, but then again, I wasn't the one with 4 medical degrees. Can I assume the reason you added the word directly in that last rule is because part of the case study you may have to lie to me every now and again? Jack, what you're doing right now is called metagaming. You are trying to figure out what I'm thinking. As a result, you're changing your own behavior to fit an impression of what I want. It's deconstructive in the purest sense of the word. In order for either of us to get anything out of these sessions, I need you to stop worrying about me and focus on your own authentic self. Try to forget why you're here and talk to me simply and honestly. I promised him I would try. The months went by, and the doctor did his best to break down those barriers, but I don't think he ever got whatever emotional breakthrough he was looking for. There were times when he slipped up and let the cracks in his facade show. There were times when he lost his patience, got frustrated, grew annoyed. At one point, we were talking about his ex-wife for half an hour. It was interesting, but I couldn't help but wonder how much of his behavior was real and how much of it was a deeper fabrication. Was he ever really frustrated? Did he even have an ex-wife, or was this all just part of the analysis? One emotion that was undeniably real was his growing surprise at how long I had lasted. Month after month, we ended our sessions and parted ways with the understanding that it could easily be the last time either of us would ever see each other. After I blew past my expiration date, Dr. V was quick to remind me that I was not going to be getting better. I was simply dying much slower than anticipated. But when you think about it, isn't that all anyone can really ask for? Wednesday morning came. I did a quick report with Tom. Did I skip a page? No, I did not. Wednesday morning came, and I did a quick report with Tom, the white-haired sheriff deputy on gas station's duty, and I let him know that I was in a hurry because it was time for my monthly trip into the city, but I still tried my best to give an accurate description of the robbers from earlier. He told me to try not to worry too much about it and that it was highly unlikely that they would be ever seen again. Tom had some leftover cable and tools in his squad car from the last time somebody cut our phone line, so he stuck around long enough to do a quick repair job. Then he asked if I needed to borrow any money. I thanked him and told him I was okay. A while back, I created a rainy day fund by stuffing a few 20s under the sole of my right shoe. In my experience, the thieves had almost never steal your shoes. After Tom had gone, I handed off my till to one of the part-timers, gassed up my Nissan, and hit the road. 6 hours later, I was in another state, standing inside the windowless doctor's office with band-aids on my arm and finger from where the staff had taken blood samples. I was uncomfortable and cold, as always, and the thermostat was locked at 67 degrees. I sat in my usual chair, doing my best to ignore the inhospitable temperature and fight off the boredom. On most days, I would have filled this time reading a book, but that jerk and his wife-beater had taken away my entire summer reading collection along with my backpack. He didn't even seem like the type of person to appreciate books he stole. I might have taken the extra time to stretch my legs and explore the limited surroundings, but I had already seen all there was to see on my earliest visits, and I had no reason to think anything had changed since then, least of all the doctor's annoying habit of arriving 15 minutes late. So I sat up in my seat and counted my breaths until he finally showed up. "Good morning, Jack." 151. He said the words as he opened the door, and I heard him before I saw him. "Hey, Dr. V. How do we feel today?" Same as every day, with our hands mostly." He took a seat on the other side of the desk and pulled out his rubber pen and scribbled some notes on my file before looking up and giving me that good old Dr. V smile and small talk. Sorry, my nose itches. "Sorry I'm late. It's good to see you again. How's the job going?" I considered telling him about the armed robbery, but we only had an hour together and it didn't feel important enough to bring up. Same old, same old. Rule 3. We didn't lie to one another. Omissions of truth, on the other hand, were fair game. He nodded. "How'd you get those marks?" I looked at the blue spots and the line on the back of my hand. Oh, this? An old woman grabbed me and forcibly administered a palm reading. Did she now? Yeah. How's your fortune look? Not great. Well, what does she know, right? He wrote something else in my file. Okay, now you know the routine. Before we get started, I'm going to give you 5 words. Try and remember these. Hammer, star, question, face. Got it? Got it. Do you still remember the 5 words from last month? Apple, saw, tiger, carrot, north. He checked off something on a sheet, and then we went into our regular session. For the next hour, we discussed whatever thought popped into either of our minds. As always, this was a bland facsimile of a real conversation. I knew what he wanted to know, but I let him pretend to come upon the questions organically. Eventually, we got down to business. He asked if I was still taking all of my medicines. I told him I was. He asked if I'd noticed any new symptoms or side effects. I told him no. He asked if I'd had any thoughts of harming myself or anyone else. I told him I did not. He asked if I'd made any new friends. I shrugged, not really. Any new hobbies? Nope. Do you think maybe you're ready to finally talk about... He paused as if he were carefully considering asking the second half of his question, but I didn't let him. Before he could say another word, I informed him in the simplest of terms that I did not want to talk about her. Not today, probably not ever. He was kind enough to change the subject quickly. I'm interested in your caffeine intake. How much coffee would you say you drink in a given day, on average? My nose itches again. I thought about this for a moment. Like, maybe 2 or 3. 2 or 3 cups? He waited for me to answer, but I said nothing and avoided eye contact. Rule 3. He squinted his eyes and asked a follow-up question. How long has it been since you've seen a pillow? I shrugged. The doctor changed the subject one last time. I'm going to be completely honest with you, Jack. You have what I would consider a hyperlogical approach to dealing with grief. In some ways, that's great. In others, it's not. I worry that you may have already shut down emotionally as a means of coping with your impermanence. You aren't dead yet, but sometimes you act like you don't know it. Okay, I responded. Cool. No, not really. I want you to try something new for me. I want you to start keeping a journal. What? You mean like a word journal? You know what a journal is, don't you? Sure, it's like a diary, right? Yes and no. A diary is just a record of events. I want you to write down how things make you feel. This is a way for you to organize your memories as well as your thoughts and emotions. This will also give you the chance to reflect upon the events after the fact, which is something good, and I think it could really benefit you. Does that sound good? I guess. All right. Do you still remember those 5 words? Hammer, star, question, face, perhaps. He ticked another box in my file and then asked, How certain are you that those are the correct words? 100%. He scribbled something down. Well, I asked, well, what? Was I right? You told me you were 100% certain you had the correct words. If that's true, why do you need me to validate what you already know? I think it's weird that you never tell me one way or the other if my memory is as reliable as I think it is. Though I would assume you're just trying to establish a pattern so that if I ever do start to lose my memory, you won't feel obligated to tell me that I'm remembering words wrong. He made a face that was somewhere between a frown and a smile, yet conveyed the emotion of neither. I continued, Or maybe you're doing this on purpose. Maybe there's nothing to the memory test, and you're using language like this to measure my reaction so you know if or when the paranoia finally sets in. Dr. V couldn't hide his own frown this time. Metagaming. Sorry. We quickly wrapped things up, and he walked me to the door, saying, Get yourself a journal, and write at least a page a day, and don't let any more old ladies read your fortune. I picked up my prescriptions and hit the interstate. 4.5 hours later, I was back at the gas station, getting ready to start my next shift. I'll be honest with y'all. The end of chapter 2. I was getting a little bit tired, but now that I'm at the end, I kind of want to see how long chapter 3 is. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, it's only like 7 pages. We can do 7 more pages. Okay, all right. Chapter 3. When I got to work, I had about 10 minutes to spare before I was scheduled to clock in, so I spent that time cleaning myself up and changing in the bathroom. I made a habit of keeping a box in the storage closet with a spare toothbrush and a change of clothes for days like this, and I took advantage of that fact more times than I could remember. I clocked in and grabbed a countdown sheet to take over from until Miguel, the part-time cashier with severe halitosis, came in. It was his first week with us so far, and he seemed to be doing okay. I asked him if he had missed anything exciting while I was gone. Yeah, he answered. That deputy stopped by and left you this. He handed me an old rolled up brown paper bag. Inside I found an old Nokia flip phone and a used paperback novel about the robots on the moon. I made a mental note to thank old Tom the next time he came in. Cool. Anything else? I got a weird phone call earlier from a guy named Farmer Jr. That was Farmer's oldest son. Another local who was quickly turning into a real nuisance. He asked if I knew anything about the hand plants. When I told him I didn't know what he was talking about, he hung up on me. Yeah, the Brown clan aren't exactly known for their social graces. Also, one of the customers said he saw a half-naked man in the bathroom wearing a cowboy hat and juggling knives. That happens. Oh, and one more thing. He took off his name tag and handed it over. I'm gonna have to tender my resignation effective immediately. I can't take all these customers trying to put thoughts into our heads without a permission. This place is evil, and I need to get out before it's too late. This was a little surprising, but not completely unexpected. Thanks for letting me know. We're gonna miss you, Miguel. My name is Rico. Really? He made a pouty face at me, and I looked at the name tag in my hand, which confirmed that he was indeed correct about his name. Oh, that's right. Miguel was the one with the severe body odor. Rico clocked out and left. He never gave us a forwarding address and never picked up his last paycheck, and as far as I know, nobody ever saw him again. I went to the back room where we post the schedule and penciled my name next to all of his shifts for the upcoming week. When I got back to the counter, I noticed that somebody had left a stack of pamphlets next to the register. The image printed on the front was a simple black and white logo for the Universal Fellowship of Mathematists. Without giving it a second thought, I tossed the entire stack into the garbage and turned my attention to the bag that Tom had left for me. Not surprisingly, the phone didn't get any reception out here, and it was effectively nothing more than a brick with a clock on it, but the book was a real lifesaver on a boring day like this. I'd already made it back to chapter 3 before Antonio snapped me back into reality with a real simple, "Hey, Jack." Antonio was another one of the many part-timers on the gas station's roster. For some reason, I'll never understand, the owners are always very wary about hiring any more full-timers. Instead, they like to hire transients, drifters, hitchhikers, and passers-by and runaways looking for a few days' work. As a rule, I tried not to get to know them. Like Rico and Miguel, they'd come and go after a few days or sometimes a few weeks, rarely long enough to form any kind of meaningful friendship. Then there was Antonio. Tony, if you're lazy, who by that point had been working for me for almost a year, a very solid second place for a longest-term gas station employee. He started as part of a prison work relief program from a neighboring county, tending grounds and unloading the trucks twice a week. He earned the owner's respect after becoming the only one of 12 prisoners who didn't disappear during a freak snowstorm last December. I never got all the details, but that story falls under one of the none of my business categories. Tony did his time, and then after his release, he came to work with us on a more permanent basis. On any normal workday, he would show up 3 times, morning, afternoon, and night, for each of his 2-hour shifts, part of the super special agreement with the owners. And even though the store was never clean, and the delivery trucks only came twice a week, exclusively during daylight hours following the so-called bear attack, I never bothered to ask what his official job was. In return, he never pried into my personal life. It was a solid relationship built on mutual respect and privacy, and at some point along the way it dawned on me that he was probably the closest thing I had to a friend. I put my book down and said, "Hi." Usually our conversations end after the first hey or morning, but that day, Tony was a little more talkative than usual. So I noticed that Tom was hanging around earlier. Everything all right? Oh, yeah, we got robbed again last night. Dude, for real? Yeah. Man, that sucks. Yeah. You all right? Why wouldn't I be? I don't know, man. He turned to look around the room. Something was clearly on his mind, but I had no idea what and no inclination to ask. After a moment, he turned back to me and said, "Well, if you need somebody to talk about it, let me know." "Thanks," I responded. He left me to my book, and the rest of my shift passed without incident. After I'd finished up and clocked out, I decided to stretch my legs and take a long walk into town. I barely spent 8 hours sitting behind a counter and 9 hours sitting inside of a car. I was starting to get worried that if I sat too much longer, my butt would develop bed sores. The bank was already closed, so I wouldn't be able to get a new debit card until morning. Same thing for the electronic shop, so I was stuck with the paperweight phone for the time being. But there was one problem that I could take care of right away. I needed a new book to read. As I walked up the hill into town, I could feel the bright afternoon sun on my face, baking the earth around me, turning the thick, humid air into something comparable to hot soup. I was a couple blocks from the bookstore when the bottom of the sky fell out, and in a matter of seconds I was drenched to my socks in a spontaneous rainstorm. A red truck sped past and swerved and hit a mud puddle next to the sidewalk, and a splash A red truck sped and swerved to hit a mud puddle next to the sidewalk and splash me. As it drove away, I could hear laughter coming from the cab, and I saw a hand extending a middle finger outside of the passenger window. At least it didn't throw a beer bottle at me this time. I live in the same small southern town where I was born and raised. It's kind of like a place where, for fun, people do Civil War reenactments in the summer and meth in the winter. The kind of community where folks don't take too kindly to fill in the blank. The kind of town where people wear t-shirts to funerals and bookstores are an anomaly, and the only thing keeping New Pages from shutting its doors for good was the owner's side business selling marijuana out of the back room. We called him Brother Riley, a leftover affectation from his days as a youth minister before he opened his own book and record shop, New Pages, which the church leaders immediately deemed corrosive to the moral fabric of our community. There was a big to-do about it, ultimately culminating in an emergency meeting where they had voted unanimously to excommunicate with prejudice. He had a long blonde ponytail, John Lennon glasses, and the start of a beer gut, and when he saw me walk into the store, drenched from head to toe, he didn't hesitate to say, "Hey man, you look like shit." "Yeah, plus I'm wet," I responded. That place always smelled like an old book, musty yet inviting. The air and atmosphere were as warm as a campfire in the winter, and even though I knew it was only a matter of time before business folded from community pressure and financial necessity to make an inevitable drug bust, coming in here always felt like coming home. I tried not to drip too badly while Brother Riley headed back into the back room, leaving me alone with the racks of beguiling merchandise. While I waited for him to return, I remembered the doctor's instructions and did a quick scan of the bookshelves for any blank journals, but I was immediately distracted by the box set of fantasy novels I'd been looking at for a while. I still had a little cash left over from the emergency rainy day fund and couldn't imagine a more appropriate scenario to spend it on. Before I realized he was back, Brother Riley pushed a beach towel into my arms and said, "Looks like the devil's been beating his wife again." I looked out the window for a second and responded, "Yeah, I guess you're right." In case you're confused, that's an expression where I'm from. When the sun is out, the sky is clear and blue, and there isn't a cloud in the sky, but somehow it's still pouring down rain. That's the devil beating his wife. "Need any help finding anything?" he asked. "Well, actually, I happen to be in the market for a journal." "What, like a word journal?" He squinted his eyes at me like I had somehow offended his sensibilities. "Exactly." "Well, shoot, man. You may as well save your money and do a blog instead." "A blog?" I asked. "It's what all the other kids are doing these days. It's like a real journal, only with the added perk of judgmental strangers telling you how they think and feel about it every step of the way." Honestly, that prospect didn't exactly sound appalling, but I was willing to give it a free shot. He pointed me in the direction of an old desktop he kept in the corner for public use next to a coffee-stained blue beanbag chair and a laminated sign that said, "Absolutely no porn. Looking at you, Kevin." If I hadn't been stranded there waiting for the rainstorm to subside, I probably wouldn't have gone over there with the effort, but with nothing else to do to pass the time, I decided to ask, why not? I took a seat and spent the next hour building a bare and mostly basic website. I'm not very artistic, but I made my first blog entry. At the edge of town on the downhill side, beyond the abandoned railroad tracks to nowhere, past the point where the streetlights end, but before the world disappears beneath the twisted canopy of oak and black willow trees, there's a shitty little gas station, open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Pippy sippy. I've put a lot of thought into everything that happened since that moment. I've carefully reconstructed the events, restacked the dominoes, and walked backwards through all the deaths and explosions and demonic incantations, and I have consistently come to the same realization. Everything leads back to the seemingly innocuous instant. Everything to come would have been completely averted had I never sat down at this computer, never built this website, never told my story to the world. As I finished my post and clicked submit, as the winds changed and doom began its unholy voyage to our town, I wondered silently to myself if anyone would ever even read my story. Okay, I think I am officially too sleepy to keep reading. I was stumbling over my words and that makes me embarrassed, so I'm gonna stop. Plus, I'm tired, man. I had a nightmare last night. I didn't sleep very well. Okay. Yoink. Oh, well, I hope you guys are liking the story. Tales from the Gas Station is probably one of my favorites, if I'm to be quite honest with y'all. I don't know, I'm just like a really big fan of horror comedy. It makes me go hee hee hoo ha ha, and it makes the scares less scary. But yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying it.
honestly, I expected this to be a short stream, but I expected it to be shorter than this. So, you know, we're going a lot longer than I thought I was. I thought this was going to be like maybe an hour tops. So an hour and a half is it's, you know, it's pretty good for what it is. Let us see who is online to raid. Oh, Janae is live. She's playing Caller X Malice, so let's head that way. Whoa. Okay. Alright. Thank you guys so much for coming by. I really appreciate it. I will be back within the next couple of days. Gotta get some college stuff out of the way, so when basically whenever I clear some stuff off my plate, I'll be back, maybe play some video games or whatever. But anyway, thank you guys so much for the man, I can't even remember what I was gonna say. Thanks for coming by. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it 1,000 times over. You all have fun with Janae. You go give her my best wishes and all my love. I will see you all next time. Bye 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 bye.